Hi, this is Porter Thorndike, and I'm very excited to introduce Machine Learning Functions, which offers no-code model training and deployment for WebFOCUS customers in Release 9.3.3. And the value here is you can deploy the results of those models into your large-scale deployments and applications and executive dashboards like this so that they can benefit and inform decision-making at a larger scale. The way that we do this is we'll start with some historical data. I've got historical bank data. We're going to go into data flow mode, and you can see we've got six model types that we're offering. This covers binary classifiers, which is great at making predictions like did they churn yes or no. Regression is similar. It'd be used for things like percentage likelihood a customer will accept an offer. Anomaly detection is great for fraud detection and preventative maintenance. I'm going to pick the binary classifier. We just need to identify what we're looking to predict, in this case risk in the positive class, and then I can select and deselect input variables that I think are going to be important in terms of informing the model of what is important at predicting a customer's risk of churn. We press the play button and we're going to train the model. And this all happens pretty quickly. And then we're going to get a lot of different information to help us understand the results of that model. We run 5 different algorithms: random forest, regression, neural networks, and we see the success of the model as the AUC score. The higher, the better. The X boost is the most successful one based on that score, and I'm going to save that model because I want to use that one to score it on our current bank data later. But to better understand what's happening, you can see we take 80% of the data to train the model. Then we run the remaining 20% back through to check for how accurate was this model at making the prediction. So you can actually go through and take a look, one by one. What was the probability of churn? Was it a false positive or a false negative, or was it correct? We can adjust precision and recall, which can adjust the number of false positives or false negatives that could be important for specific use cases. The confusion matrix is great at helping you understand of the actual customers that churned, how many were false positives, and then how many were false negatives. And again, that's what precision and recall can help you adjust if you'd rather err on the side of having more false positives or more false negatives. Feature importance is very important as well. This tells you which variables were most important at predicting a customer's risk of churn. And that looks pretty good right there. Now I'm going to go into the WebFOCUS Designer. I'm picking my current bank's data set with my current customers. And what's really cool is we just go to the data tab. You'll notice all of this has been done no code graphical, right? And I can see there are 3 models available to me that will work with my data set based on a match of the input variables. I drag the model in, it scores my data as quick as that. Now I'm going to sort this and we can go through. What's really cool is those high-level feature importances may be different for a specific customer. And this is not a black box. We have something called DSML explainability, which helps you understand which features were most important at identifying and predicting this customer's risk of churn. You can see revolving balance was the top one. And that had a blue color, which indicated that was very low. That customer's revolving balance was very low. And we can do what if analysis as well. When you see the actual value, the realistic range, and the average value, we can start punching in values so that if there are some features we might have an impact on or could change, we can see what impact that might have on reducing this customer's risk of churn. As we make some of these changes and their predicted risk of churn goes way down. Let's look at another one, because what's cool is it could be totally different based on the specific customer. In this case, it's the last quarter balance is very low and the credit utilization was high. So we can see it, we can understand it, we can visualize it. But let's actually put this into action and start visualizing it and exploring it and creating content and try to get to the point where we actually create or add this calculation and prediction to an existing dashboard. So I'm looking at average probability of churn. I can look at this at a high level. I can look at this across things like education or marital status. This is what the designer is great at. It's visual, it's easy to use, and I can look at this and create this information very quickly. So I've done that very fast. And, kind of like a cooking show, out of the oven 30 minutes later, I don't just have one chart, I've got 4 charts across some key categories showing me the percentage of customers in those categories that are at risk and that are at safe. I've added 4 filters across the top. They really correspond with that chart right below them. And then I've created a report. And remember that the WebFOCUS Designer is an enterprise class application report and dashboard development tool. You can see I've got a lot of control over like where the filters are loaded and where they're visible. I've got a lot of control over things like how those filters are populated, or things like interactions and behaviors on the page. As we look over to the left, you can see I've got access to things like containers. I've got access to all of the content that I might have. I have a lot of options in terms of how I can create this so that it be a high-performing, usable, bulletproof solution to be used by large audiences. We're looking at filter bindings right here. We're looking at all the different controls that I've got access to. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save this. How do we get this into the hands of all those users? I just saved this into a workspace. In this case, customer churn dashboard is what I saved it as. And the last step, to getting this in the hands of the consumers is going into the portal designer. You'll notice I've got about 5 pages already configured. I've got a theme and things like that. And I'm just going to navigate to the content that I want. I've got customer churn analysis folder, all the content in there. I just drag this onto the page in the menu, and I'm going to reference it as a link. And it is as simple as that. I mean, I think you can see how quickly we went from raw data to training a model, saving it, deploying it and scoring it against current data, creating the content and adding it to the portal. And now all of these users can benefit from it. I can start looking at blue card categories, or a really high risk segment of our population or our customer base. I further filter down to advanced degree, okay? And now I might start looking at who are high value customers with a large balance that also have a high prediction of risk. And I've identified one right there, Armani Sanchez. And I can click on that, and it might take me to something like a customer dashboard or a customer profile. So, I mean, that is the big thing and the big benefit. The other thing that this predictive model will benefit is something we have called instant insights, which produces machine-generated data stories like this, and it can leverage that prediction, give you some really interesting insights on your data. It's also very beneficial for self-service analytics exercises where you may have business users and business analysts looking to leverage that prediction in dashboards to further understand which customers are at risk, visually explore it. And it can be used in natural language query. Isn't that awesome, right? I can use this new capability that we've got backed by the Microsoft Phi 3 large language model, plus prompt engineering, to make users able to type questions in English language and get accurate results, including the results of that model, like predicted risk. You can visualize it in different ways as well.